This is Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned for professional wrestling. Coming to you from the Delaware Wrestling Thunderdome, I am your host, Benjamin Burrows.
I am one voice that stands alone. I am one choice to man the throne. Stand guard and take shots, give it all I got. All I got is this microphone.
And it is a great and glorious day to be out selling your products and selling your services, because you are the great American thunder on which this nation rolls, because nothing happens until something is sold, until you sell it. This is Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling. I'm your host, Benjamin Burrows, and we are coming to you from the fabulous Delaware Wrestling Thunderdome. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to our podcast, Grunt to Groan. And I want to thank you for reaching out to me this week. If you'd like to contact us here at Grunt to Groan, you can do that at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. That's greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. I promise I'll read each and every one of your letters, each and every one of your emails. And I thank you for taking the time to write me. And had a really good weekend this weekend. I took Mrs. Benjamin Burrows out on a date. We went to the movies to see the remake of A Star is Born. Now, I bring this up because I'm not a movie critic. And now I just want to lay that out there right now. I'm not a movie critic. I'm not going to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I will say this. After seeing the movie and knowing the original Star is Born and the remake with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson, this was an excellent film. And I believe you're going to see an Academy Award nod to both Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga, and to the soundtrack with Lucas Nelson and The Promise of the Real. That was extremely a surprise, because I'm a big Lucas Nelson fan. I'm a big Willie Nelson fan, and Lucas is the son of Willie Nelson. So this was a big surprise when I took a look at the credits, and I saw that Lucas Nelson was involved in writing some of the songs with Bradley Cooper and some of the songs with Lady Gaga. But I want to bring this up in the podcast. Before we jump into the real meat of the Grunt to Groan podcast this week, I want to jump in to a line out of the movie. And I think it pertains to us as sales professionals. And I know that I use wrestling to compare it to, but I want to use this movie. In this movie, the main character, played by Bradley Cooper, Jackson Maine, he says this to Lady Gaga. Her character is Allie. He says, look, talent comes everywhere, but having something to say and a way to say it so that people will listen to it, that's a whole other bag. And unless you get out and you try to do it, you'll never know. That's just the truth. And there's no one reason we're supposed to be here is to say something so people want to hear. So you got to grab it. And you don't apologize. And you don't worry about what they're listening or why they're listening or how long they're going to be listening for. You just tell them what you want to say. Don't you understand what I'm trying to tell you? And as sales professionals, this was a great line. And I'm sitting in the movie and I'm thinking, what great performances, what great music, and what great advice. Talent comes everywhere. It's all around us. But having something to say and a way to say it so that people listen to it, that's a whole other bag. And that's the epitome of what we do as sales professionals. We have something to say. And it is our job to get people to listen to what we say. So we have to enter into this with compassion. And we have to enter into this with a desire to get our message out. And that's my goal through Grunt to Groan, the podcast, and the book. I know that as sales professionals, you have something to say. And I hope in some small way that we give you the encouragement and the push to get out there day after day after day after day after day and to say it. If you get a chance, go see the movie A Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. I think it's one of the best films I've seen in a long time. And I like films. Me and Mrs. Benjamin Burroughs, we go to the movie theater quite a bit. We like going to see films, and I know that there's some new films coming out that I'm real interested. They're remaking West Side Story. That's one of my favorite all-time movies, West Side Story. And Steven Spielberg is involved in remaking that film. I can't wait to see that. I also can't wait to see the new Creed movie as well, because I am a big Rocky fan. I love the fact that Sylvester Stallone gave Hulk Hogan a chance to be Thunder Lips in Rocky III. And I loved the whole Rocky series of films, and I love the first Creed film, and I can't wait for the second one to come out. So now on with the podcast. Grunt to Groan, sales lessons learned from professional wrestling. I had said that we were going to do a Book of the Month Club, and the staff has selected the book that we are going to do. This is our very first Book of the Month Club, and Dave the Ray's over there. He's got a drum roll all lined up. No, we don't need a drum roll for this. This is... And, you know, I was kind of hoping that the first Book of the Month Club would be, I don't know, Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling, the book that I wrote. I was kind of hoping that Grunt to Groan would be the one that would be our inaugural Book of the Month. By the way, Grunt to Groan is available on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, BarnesandNobles.com. But it's not. Actually, we selected a book that I have used for many, many years, and I've learned a lot of lessons from. And if you pick a copy of the book up, I think you will too. Now, some of the books that we're going to be doing with the Book of the Month Club, yes, they're contemporary, they're new, like Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling, but some of them might be a little dated. They might be a little older. I still suggest you go to Amazon or Barnes & Nobles and you pick up a copy of the books that we are highlighting in our Book of the Month Club. And the book that I'm highlighting very first and foremost on the very first Grunt to Groan Book of the Month Club is called Inside the Magic Kingdom by Tom Canellian. That's Connellan, Tom Canellian. He is the author of the best-selling book, Knock Your Socks Off Service, which sold over 1 million copies. But the book for our very first Book of the Month Club is Inside the Magic Kingdom. And you're probably wondering, how in the world could anything about Disney's Magic Kingdom pertain to me in sales? Well, that's the beauty of this book. The secrets and the suggestions that you will get out of this book will transform the paradigm of how you see sales. It will make you look at your profession of sales in a whole different way. You know, right from the very beginning, and about this book, it reads, this book is about how to take yourself, your team, and your company to the next level of customer satisfaction. One of the best ways to do that is with a good model. And Disney is one of the best models there is, especially the Magic Kingdom. Now think about this. How many of you have been to the Magic Kingdom? How many of you taken the time to go on vacation? You know, take the kids down to the Magic Kingdom. I can tell you my first trip to the Magic Kingdom was when my son, Mad Dog Fred, went off to college. And my wife planned an absolutely fantastic trip for her and I to visit the Magic Kingdom. And I'll never forget it. We were talking to our son on the cell phone, and he said, "Where are you guys at?" And I said, "Well, we're at Disney World. We're at the Magic Kingdom." And I think he got a little slighted. He got a little angry. He said, "You wait till I go to college before you go to Disney World?" And I said, "Hell yeah." And we had a great time. And, you know, when you look around the Magic Kingdom, everything, I don't want to say is perfect, but it is. And it's planned perfection. There are very few things that happen at the Magic Kingdom by accident or by happenstance. They're very methodical in how they laid out every aspect of the Magic Kingdom. You've heard me say it before. When we were talking about how the client wants an experience, how Walt Disney asked his contractors to get down on their knees and view from that perspective what they were building and what they were planning, because he wanted his contractors to see what children would see. He wanted them to see how children would see it. And if you look at some of the structures at the Magic Kingdom, you really begin to appreciate the fact that Walt Disney had his contractors go down to their knees to view his vision. You see, it's the small details. You've heard me say that. The small details that make buying from you an experience for the client. And this book only proves that. Inside the Magic Kingdom. Now, I'm just going to highlight some things from the book that have been important to me, that have helped me in my professional sales career. I'll go to page 12, and this jumps right out at one of the first points that Tom Cornelian is trying to make. Just when everyone is saying how great you are, that's when you're the most vulnerable. That's when you're the most in trouble. When everyone is saying how great you are, that's when you're the most vulnerable. It's called the red zone. That's what Walt Disney called it. And again, that has to do with when you think you are at your most successful with your client, when you think you're at the most successful in your career, that's when you're the most vulnerable. That's when you have to stop, reevaluate, and work harder. I heard a wise man one time by the name of Jim Azar tell me that it's easy to get what you want, but it's hard to hang on to what you have. And that's true in life. That's true with possessions. That is true with clients. It's easy to get out there and get them. There's so many of them to choose from. Keeping them, that's the hardest thing. When you are comfortable, you are vulnerable. The next point that is made in this book that really helps shift my paradigm is who's really your competition? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about who your competition is? You know, you're in the car industry, the automotive industry, and you think that the other automotive dealerships are your competition, and they are your competition, but they're not your only competition. If you view that they're your only competition, then you will fail in the automotive industry. You see, when people buy cars or trucks, they want to feel comfortable and confident in the money they're spending. And any other industry that makes them feel comfortable or confident when they buy is your competition. If people feel comfortable and confident buying from Amazon, well, guess what? They're competition for you selling that brand new Chevrolet Silverado pickup truck. If someone else satisfies customers better than you, no matter what type of business, you suffer by comparison. And here's the point that they use in the book. If a customer calls UPS and asks for the tracking of their package, and if UPS within 45 seconds can give them an update on the tracking of their package, or if they can go online within 30 seconds and get an update on the tracking of their package, they are satisfied with how that went. And then they come to you to buy something, and it takes, longer than 45 seconds. Did you give them the same level of customer satisfaction? It's hard to compare that UPS would be a competitor to Disney, but here's what they feel. If you get off the phone with UPS and you have a great customer satisfaction experience, and then you're calling Disney to book your vacation, and you don't have that same or better experience, then they failed. You have to look at where your competition is all the time. And it just doesn't come from your vertical. It just doesn't come from your industry. Again, if someone else satisfies customers better than you, no matter what type of business, you suffer by comparison. That is from Inside the Magic Kingdom by Tom Kenelian. The competition is anyone the customer can compare you to. You know, chapter 4 of this book is brilliant as well. It talks about how little things make a big difference. We talked about this in the experience. Creating the experience, paying attention to the little details. The little details can cost you big business. In the book on page 28, it says, pay fantastic attention to detail. Fantastic attention to detail. You know, when the park closes at night, Disney has a staff of associates who go throughout the park painting every little nook and cranny that looks as if it has wear on it. I was reading in this book that they pay so much attention to the detail that on the carousel, where there is gold paint on the figures, that they actually use a 24-karat gold paint. Now, you know, no one's going to pay attention to that. No one's going to even know that. They could have used just a gold paint. but they use 24 karat gold paint. They're paying attention to the small and little details. On page 34 of the book, the question is asked, if you knew that increased attention to some detail would improve customer loyalty, how much more attention would you be willing to give it? If you knew that paying attention to the small details would increase the loyalty of your client, how much more attention would you give that client? It's about the small details when you're creating the experience for the client. In chapter 5, they discuss that everyone walks the talk. That means everybody at Disney walks the talk. You will see executives walking through the park, and if they see trash on the ground, they stop and they pick it up. It is everybody's job in the park to make sure that the park is clean and that the customers are satisfied. As a sales professional, can you walk the talk? Are you encouraging everybody in your company to walk the talk? You jump to page 45, and it says every time a customer comes in contact with your company, you have an opportunity to create value. If you're walking the talk, every time the client comes in contact with your company, you have an opportunity to create value. And when you create value as a sales professional, you understand you drive down the argument of price. A customer will buy value if you can show them value, if you can prove to them value, and if you can walk the talk of value. Again, the book, Inside the Magic Kingdom. This is one of those books that have just helped me grow as a sales professional. In chapter 6, they talk about the importance of things unseen. The unseen things and how important they are. You know, the unseen things could be something as simple as how you label your product. Or, as a sales professional, spot checking a client's order and their delivery schedule to make sure that the client is truly receiving the product within a 24-hour time frame or whatever time frame you promised the client. Something the client may never see, but something that the client can brag to you about. You know, if I get an order and it's going to take 5 days, I will tell my client it's going to take 7. Because when the order comes in at 4, they think I did something grand and I did something special. This book also talks about that everyone needs to focus on providing what customers want, even people who would never come in direct contact with your clients. This is a nice message that you can send to your support management, to your delivery team. And I want you to think about that. How are you communicating with your support base? And then I'm going to bring up one more point from the book, Inside the Magic Kingdom by Tom Kenelian. It comes from page 101. And this is Sales 101. The two most common byproducts of phenomenal success are arrogance and complacency. Don't find yourself in that boat. Once you have great success, do not become complacent and do not become arrogant. Again, let's go back to the very first point. That is when you are the most vulnerable. When everyone is saying how great you are, that's when you are the most vulnerable. Our very first Grunt to Groan Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling Book of the Month, Inside the Magic Kingdom by Tom Canelian. Again, it's a dated book, but I suggest very strongly if you are in sales and you want to grow in sales, this is a great book for you to read. You can pick it up on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. You can pick it up on Walmart.com. Inside the Magic Kingdom by Tom Canelian. And that's going to wrap up this Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy sales day. And I appreciate your thoughts, your comments, your feedback, your positives, your negatives. I want to know. Let me challenge you. I want to give you a little homework. I want to challenge you. Email me at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com with how you prospect new business. What I'd like to do is take some of the best ideas that I get from you, sales professionals, on how you prospect new business, and I want to do a podcast just on prospecting. How do you prospect new business? Email me how you do that at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. That's greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me at Twitter at Great American Thunder at Real Ben Burrows. Also want to put out on the table that I am embarking on a sales motivational speaking career, just getting started. And if you have an event, a sales meeting, a civic organization, of where I can come in and speak. I'm building my resume right now. This is new for me. To actually do this is very new, sales motivational speaking. But if you have an event like that I could participate in, I would appreciate it. Email me at greatamericanthunder@gmail.com. That's going to wrap up this podcast of Grunt to Groan, Sales Lessons Learned from Professional Wrestling. Remember, you are the Great American Thunder on which this nation rolls, because nothing happens until something is sold. So quit listening to me and get out there. Sell something.
Alone. I get one choice to man the throne. Stand guard and take shots. Give it all I got. All I got is this microphone. I get my thoughts, my skill displayed. I fought